Hello, welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley, and for the next hour, we're going to be talking about modal verbs. These are verbs like would, could, should, might, may, can, and specifically how modals are used to show probability. Modals can be used to express obligation or ask permission or grant permission. We actually looked at that last week. Another function of modals, which we're going to look at today, is to talk about probability. How likely is something to happen or to be happening now? Often we're going to talk about how we use them in the present tense or in the future tense to talk about future possibilities. The idea is to what degree? 100% you're sure of it, is absolutely 0% you're sure it can't happen. Oh, there you go. There's a modal. It can't happen. Or somewhere in between. And we'll talk about that. Maybe students will try some practice exercises, and we'll do maybe some other fill-in-the-blank exercises. I'm going to kind of be jumping around in my material, quite honestly, but we'll get everything covered. Okay, hello, Heidi. Welcome back.
Hello, nice to see you again.
I broke my pencil. Nice to see you too.
Pencil.
I have a spare.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you use a pencil, not ball pen?
Yes, I prefer to use a pencil rather than a ball pen. I'm one of those people.
No sharp pencil.
Oh, I have a sharpener here with me at all times, and a spare. I have a spare pencil. I was a Boy Scout. Okay. So that I may always be prepared. May. There's a modal of probability for you. Okay. Well, where's everybody else? Where is everyone? Okay.
They're having a lunch.
They're having lunch. Yeah. Well, I will be soon. How about you? You haven't had lunch yet?
Yeah, I already eaten some. I've already eaten some leftover.
Some leftovers. Okay. Well, I haven't, so I will be doing so immediately after this. All right. I guess we can get started. Again, plenty of room in the class. Any viewers out there in Verbling, come on in. You can join the class anytime, but we're going to start talking about modal verbs and using them to talk about probability or possibility, however you want to think about it. Okay, first, a note about the form. Okay, all modal verbs, and regardless of the person, whether, the purpose, whether to show probability / possibility or to show obligation, he should do it, or to ask permission, may I go. Regardless, the actual form is always the same, which is to say the modal verb plus the base verb. Very common mistake I see with the language learners is that they try to use a modal verb and then add some kind of other verb tense, such as an ing form, a present participle, or a past participle, or a past tense, or what have you. You can't ever do that. Okay, modal and the base verb. Well, okay. I say you can't ever do that. You can't ever do that if you're in the present or if you're talking about the present or the future. All right. Little bit different if you're talking about the past. And tomorrow's lesson, at the same time, we're going to be talking about using modals in the past. And those are called modal perfects, but we're going to really save that till tomorrow and concentrate on those tomorrow. that's a little different. Then you're going to use the modal verb plus have eaten. They may have eaten dinner at 7 in the past. Again, we're kind of going to hold off on that today. However, if somebody has questions or whatever, of course I will answer them. But we're really going to focus on that tomorrow. So today, talking about the present probability or the future, modal verb plus the base verb. Let me quickly welcome a couple joiners to the class. Masahiro, how are you? How are you doing, Masa?
Hi, nice to see you. I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you again, as always. Okay, and also welcome back, Ziad.
Hi, teacher.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, here it is. If you're going to talk about the present or the future, this is it, and it doesn't even matter. We're concentrating on using modals to show possibility, but no matter what you're using it for, this is the form, the base verb. I may eat dinner at 7. She might work late tonight. They must be tired. Must be, all right. Even if it's the verb be, okay? The base verb be. All right. That's the basic form. Let's talk about some different modals and how they're used to show possibility. First of all, May. It's a lovely month in spring. It's also a modal. It shows possibility in the present or future. Okay, in present tense, for example, where are my keys? They may be in the car right now. In the future, I may go to the party tonight. Very common if you're going to use it to show future possibility, to use some kind of time indicator to make that very clear. Okay. Heidi, what are the odds? What are the probabilities? We're talking about possibility and probability. If I say I may go to the party tonight, what percentage? What do you think?
60%.
60%. Okay. Masa, what do you think? I may go to the party tonight. What do you think the odds are?
I think over 50%.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if I use this word, if I just use this word, I will. I want to be able to go there.
If you use this? Okay.
Right.
Well, that's okay. Now that's an interesting point. Actually, Masa brings up an interesting point. We're going to be talking about these modals of probability today. Okay. I'd like to look at them from the perspective of purely grammatical, like English textbook, because Masa has an excellent point here. Different cultures will treat these things differently. You're absolutely correct. I'm an American, so for me, may go to the party tonight is a 50-50 proposition. But I now live in the Philippines, and if somebody tells you, if you invite them to a party and they say, and I ask another Filipino, will you come to my party? And they say, I may come, or they say maybe, may or maybe, for them means almost certainly no. But they're too polite to say no.
Yeah. Instead, you say no. You say, I may go.
Yes. And so there's a cultural element. Honestly, really, when an American says, I may go to the party tonight, it means they're totally not sure. It's basically a 50-50 proposition. So, as we look at these, all right, granted, depending on what culture you're in, that it may actually have a different connotation. Yeah, okay. Very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. May is a little bit more formal and is often found in writing. Definitely, if you guys do any business writing, if you're writing for the HR department, for employee handbook, Employees may take a 5-minute break at 10 a.m., whatever. Or here's a great example. Side effects of this medication may include an upset stomach, fever, or death. Yes. Formal writing, especially business writing, copywriting, instructions, and an instruction manual. If you're writing like any kind of instruction manual or a warranty, anything like that, you're most certainly going to use may.
Teacher, I have a question.
Shoot.
So when we say like employee may have like 5 minutes break,
yeah,
it doesn't mean like 50% or 50% yes or no. It means like he have the possibility to have like 5 minutes break.
There. Okay, maybe that was a bad example since we're focusing on possibility. That's more the idea of using may for permission, actually.
Okay.
But nevertheless, it's worth noting. Okay, it's still a good question. Whether we're using it to show possibility, like in this example, or whether we're using it to grant permission, still, either case, it's still more formal, used in writing, things like, HR department things. Okay. All right. Either way. All right. So, okay, may is more formal. Quick hello to Sam. Hi, Sam. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, might also shows possibility in the present or future. Present, where are my keys? They might be in the car right now. I might go to the party tonight. Ziad, what is the percentage? What is the possibility? What are the odds I'll go to the party?
It's like may, 50-50.
You're exactly right. It's pretty much the same as may. Might and may they do. They have the same meaning, the same idea. Okay. Absolutely. Now, I have to say, using may and might, to some degree, in spoken English, you might be able to change those odds, those 50-50 odds, just a little bit by changing your intonation a little bit. I might go to the party tonight. Okay, the way I'm saying it, I might go to the party tonight, probably means it's less than 50%. Okay? Because of the way I'm saying it, I might go to the party tonight. Probably better than 50-50 odds. All right, I'm excited about it. All right, so intonation can play a role in what the probability is. Okay, just to make that clear. All right. Might definitely is less formal than may, and it definitely either is fine in conversation, might or may, but might is probably more common in conversation. Now, let's look at could. Let me quickly welcome another student to the class before we do so. Hello, Eunice.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to the class.
Thank you.
Pardon me. Okay, might or may, basically 50-50 probability. Let's think about could. Could is a little bit different. Could shows that something is possible in the present or the future. Okay, so for example, where are my keys? They could be in the car. All right, Sam, what are the odds that the keys are in the car? Like might or may, depending on how you say it, it's basically 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
How about could? What is the probability?
It's about 70 or 80%.
It's a trick question, is what it is, Sam. I'm messing with you. In reality, when you use could, you're just saying it is one of many possibilities. There really is no way to give it odds. What are the other possibilities? They could be in the car. They could be in the closet. They could be on the shelf. They could be on the bathroom sink. They could be any one of a million different places. So depending on how many options are possible, that would determine the odds, I suppose.
Okay, so how we say that? How much percentage of could?
Yeah, you can't. It's impossible. No.
Oh, okay.
When you use could, you're expressing the idea, here's an idea. This is one of many possibilities. Okay, you're not really saying how likely it is.
Means we can say that the 50 or less than 50.
Yeah, it would be very common, for example, to say, "Oh, where are my keys? I could have left them at work. They could be in the car. They could be in the kitchen." I can repeat 4 or 5 sentences with could. So how could I possibly assign a probability factor or a percentage? I really can't.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so it's a little.
Okay, can we say there are a lot of doubts?
Yes. There are a lot of doubts. It is just one possibility, and you're not really, obligating yourself. You're not really talking about.
Okay.
All right.
And what about in future? For example, here.
There you go.
We could go to the party tonight. It's not also sure, not possibility.
Yeah. We could go to the party tonight, or we could just stay home. Okay, well then that's probably a 50-50 probability, because I'm giving 2 options, right? We could go to the party tonight, we could go to the movies, or we could stay home. Well, now they're about 33.3%.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right. Basically, options. You're giving options is what you're doing. All right. Okay. If I won a lottery, I could buy a house. I could also buy a car. All right. Options, possibilities. Okay. There you go. Moving on to must. Must shows certainty, or, again, as so often happens in English, the speaker believes in the certainty. Okay. If the speaker's crazy, it doesn't mean he's using must incorrectly. It just means he's crazy, and he believes it. Aliens must be living next door. My neighbors are so weird. All right. Now, maybe there are no space aliens living next door, but I'm sure of it, and I'm the speaker. And gosh darn it, since I believe it, it's okay for me to use must. Okay. All right. Everyone is wearing a jacket. It must be cold. The speaker is 100% sure. They believe in the certainty. Okay. He was running for 2 hours. He must be tired. All right. Although it seems obvious, it is not a fact that the runner is tired. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's in tremendous shape, and he can run for 10 hours in a row. Doesn't necessarily have to be true, but the speaker believes it to be 100% true. Okay. What's the option to must? Eunice, do you know?
What is the what? Oh.
What is the option? Is there an option? Is there a different way than must?
Should.
That is an option, but it is not. Then we are not talking. We'll get to should later. Should does not mean 100%. We'll get to that later. He should be tired. That has a different probability. That when you say should, there's an area of doubt. You're not 100%. Do you know another way to say 100% that you believe he's tired?
He certainly is tired.
He is certainly tired. Well, okay.
I don't understand that question. Sorry.
It's okay. How about he has to be tired?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Really the same thing. Everyone is wearing a jacket. It has to be cold out. You're certain, 100%. He was running for 2 hours. He has to be tired. Again, it's exactly like must. Why would you use must? Why would you use has to show probability? I don't know. To tell you the truth, there's a slight difference in formality. Must is a little bit more formal. And it's I used a little bit more in conversation. Just totally my personal opinion. May is definitely and obviously for me more formal than might. Must more formal than have to? Not really that much. Maybe a little bit more formal. I hear people using both all the time, and it's really not that big a deal. Okay, now here, I've got to switch gears a little bit. Hang on just a second.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah.
Both of them about must and have to used in daily conversation.
Yes. Sure. You know, Mas, it's not really all that common that. Bye, Sam. See you later. Okay. It's not, it's not that common. You're gonna have a situation where you say, well, yeah, oh, your father was sick and your babies were sick and you stayed up all night. You must be exhausted. Something like that would be fairly common.
Must doesn't have past tense. So maybe if we say about past, we need to use have to, had to.
Well, that's exactly correct. Right. And as I said, we'll be covering that tomorrow, but that's a very good point. A big difference, you're absolutely correct, is that must doesn't have any, there is no past tense of must. It doesn't, well, there is. Actually, he must have left work early because he didn't finish his work. Yeah, actually, there is a past tense. Wait a minute. But to show possibility, there is. So wait a minute. But to show obligation, there isn't. So let's wait a second. Let's not get confused here. He must have fallen in the mud. His clothes are dirty. It is possible to show possibility in the past. However, you can't say, okay, like all employees must take a mandatory lunch break at 12. I can't say that in the past using must. That's impossible. So you are correct. To show obligation or give permission, must is not possible. We had to take a mandatory lunch break at 12 o'clock. So yeah, you're kind of right. Depending on how you're using the modal verb. Okay. Keep in mind, okay, we already looked at might and could. Just quick, maybe it's obvious, but just to remind everyone, we can also say might not and could not. We could use negatives. But it's a little different. Okay, although might and could express possibility in a somewhat similar way, but not really. Might really shows like 50% probability, and could shows an option. The negative forms of might and could are very different. might not, again, shows probability. Probably not true, less than 50%. These books might not be the teachers. All right, whereas might kind of means 50% or more, might not kind of shows less than 50%. Basically, is a kind of a way to think about that. However, could not, okay, if you think about could can mean an option, could not means not an option at all. Could not shows that something is completely impossible. All right. Again, this has to do with the idea that could means an option. If there's not an option, then it's impossible, obviously. It's quite logical. This could not be the only book available. She could not know who my friend is. They have never met. Okay, 0% probability. Okay. Okay, and we'll, all right. Well, sure, why not? Let's try these out. Let's break it up. We'll do an exercise, and then we're going to go back. There's a couple other can, as Eunice mentioned, should. We'll talk about those in a minute. Let's do this first. Let's kind of break it up so you don't have to listen to me lecture forever. Which option is correct? You have some information, and then you're going to use a modal of probability to think about the option. So let's try this out. Heidi, number one.
He left the party early. He must have to work tomorrow. He must have to work tomorrow. A.
Yeah. Okay. He must have to work tomorrow. This is okay. Now this is actually very interesting. This is one of the very few times.
Strange.
It's exceptional, because normally, okay, you can never use. Well, this brings up an interesting point about using modals. You can never use two modals of possibility together. I may come to the party. I might come to the party. That just does not make any sense at all. Okay, I can't do this. What we have here is must to show probability or possibility. You're 100% sure. And then have to, which is also a modal, but here it's used to show obligation. He has an obligation to work tomorrow. This is possible. Okay. Okay. So he must work tomorrow. Okay. We can only really use have to, like he could have to work tomorrow. He might have to work tomorrow. He must have to work tomorrow. We can't do this with must. He must work tomorrow. He must work tomorrow? It's not going to work. That's no. He must work tomorrow. No, it doesn't even make sense. Okay, this is really kind of an exception using modals, where we can actually use two modals in a row. And it is possible with have to show probability for this have to obligation. We can't use should is another modal of obligation. He should have to work tomorrow. He should work tomorrow. No. He should work tomorrow. No. He should work tomorrow. No. It's only with have to that we can do this weird construction with two modals in a row. It really only happens like this with have to. And okay, obviously talking about the future. That's a very interesting example there. A little odd. Okay. Masa, number two.
Okay. he has to be finished the test by now. He might be finished.
Which matches?
A. he must be finished the test.
Okay, has to and be must be. All right, same meaning. There's really no difference in meaning in these two sentences. All right. Okay, Ziad, number 3.
There is a new snow outside. It might have snowed last night. It must have snowed last night. It might have snowed last night.
Well, the key here is new snow.
Okay. So it's B.
Yeah, so it's got to be B, right?
Yes.
Without new, then yes. If we eliminated new, then A would be correct, right? Okay. Eunice, about number 4.
He didn't finish the exam on time.
Okay, this is
He
Pat.
might not have studied.
Okay. Yes, very good. We haven't looked at this yet. We'll definitely go into this more tomorrow. Good job, Eunice. Shows a probability in the past. Okay. Heidi, back to you.
She doesn't know if she will cook dinner tonight. She might cook dinner, but she had to cook dinner. Oh. Doesn't know if. Okay, she might cook dinner.
Very good. Okay, notice the original construction, however. We can get around. We can basically say the same thing in a roundabout way without using, without really using a modal, and usually using will. You know, a future tense, for example. Notice she doesn't know if she will cook dinner tonight. Okay, so we can infer immediately that there's some probability involved here. Maybe, maybe not. 50%. All right. So it is possible to avoid using modals and still get the point across. All right. Masa, number 6.
Everyone is smoking outside. You must not be able to smoke in here.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. All right. Exactly. All right. Again, the A doesn't make sense because can and could have to, not only do they have to do with an option, okay, they also sometimes they have to do with the I can swim. All right. When you're talking about ability, can is present tense and could is past tense. So, you know, it can be very confusing in sentences like this because you don't know if you're talking about ability or it doesn't make sense. So sometimes, although there are many times, okay, it might rain, it could rain. There's not very much difference in meaning in those two sentences. But for example, in these two sentences, it gets very confusing when you're bringing in probability and when you're bringing in possibly also obligation or permission here. It gets very confusing to use could, and you should avoid it because it sounds like you're asking ability. Sometimes it makes me laugh when people say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Teacher, can I go to the bathroom? I think to myself, well, God, I sure hope so. Otherwise, you better get to a hospital right away, because I think are you asking me for permission, or are you asking me if you are physically capable? So sometimes you have to keep can and could. You have to keep that in mind. It can also mean ability. So sometimes you have to to avoid confusion, to keep that in mind.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Number 6 question regarding number 6. Here, I think here the end of this sentence here don't need preposition because here is adverb, I think.
You must
No.
not be able to smoke here. Either way is
Either way.
either way would be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. In just adds emphasis to inside this closed space. It does add a little clarity, I think. But yeah, you're right. You could do it without. Okay. All right. Ziad, number 7.
He looks very tired. He might had to stay up late last night.
Okay, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Tomorrow's lesson. These are both, you're making a guess about the past, probability in the past. Well, this is not possible because it's going to be A. He must have stayed up late last night. Must have stayed, must, and then have, and then the past participle. Here are okay, had to, as I said earlier with Heidi, we can use had to with a probability, had to obligation with another probability. However, if you're talking about the past, this Zia, this would have to be he might have had to stay up late.
Okay, yeah.
You need might have. Yeah. So it wouldn't work. Grammatically speaking, this is B is impossible, so it's got to be A. Okay. Eunice, try number 8.
Everyone received 100% on the math exam. It must have been easy.
Okay. Yes, that makes 100% is 100%. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, another past tense. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But Heidi, number 9.
That book had her name on it. It had to be hard. It might be hard. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I like A a lot better. Yeah, makes more sense to me. Maybe somebody's running around writing other people's names in a book, but it seems highly unlikely. Masa? Actually, another past tense one. Masa?
Sorry. Who fixed the chair? It couldn't have been Jim. He was at work.
Okay. Yeah. Again, you got to have that modal perfect. All right. Okay. So much for that. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears here. I forgot which gears I'm switching to. Give me half a second here. Okay. Hang on. Okay. All right. There's a couple other possibilities to show probability. Those are the most common ones. Might, may, could, and must, and has to. But there's a couple other possibilities. For example, here we go. We can use the modal can to make general statements. Now, this is quite important. That's why it's highlighted. About what is possible. General statements. Look at these examples, please. It can be very cold in winter. Okay. I know that this is a possibility. This is a very general statement. I've lived here a while. I know that it sometimes can be very cold in the winter. Okay. Generally speaking, you can easily lose your way in the dark. Okay, people often do. It is a possibility. Again, much like could, really, we're thinking about this as one possibility, but as a strong possibility. really. If you think about this, obviously it can be very cold in the winter, and kind of obviously you can lose your way in the dark. All right. Again, we rarely use this unless we're making very general statements, and okay. And in this usage, could is the past tense of can. It could be very cold in the winter. It was cold. All right. You could lose your way in the dark. All right. Again, that's past possibility, and we'll talk about that more. Okay, here's another one using can't.
Hey, teacher, I have a question.
Sure. What's that?
Go up for the could in past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we say it could be very cold in winter,
mm-hmm.
which mean past. So let's say I know how was the winter last year. So how I can be not sure about I say could. Supposed to be 100% sure it was cold or not cold. Do you get my question?
Not quite. You want to show 100% sure that it was cold?
Yeah, because if you come and ask me about
right.
how was the winter last year, I know I was alive,
there.
so
you were there.
How was it? Yeah,
and you lived there. Well, yeah. I guess you would simply say it was freezing cold.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was cold. All right. You want to state a past fact? Just use past simple and state your fact. It was very cold last winter. Okay.
Can I follow up the question of Oakley?
Yeah.
How is that different? It could be very cold in the winter of a phrase that is referring to a possibility in the future. Is it because the context, or is a difference in how you structure?
Okay. Saying I lost my keys. They could be in the car. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, from the context, I think it's fairly obvious you're talking about presently. Right now, they could be in the car.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Obvious.
So it's because of the context.
Yeah, it really is the context.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It could be very cold in winter, and also, okay, what if I wanted to talk about the future? What if I wanted to warn you, you just moved to my country, and it's sometimes cold, and I want to warn you that the future winter might be cold. First of all, I could use it might be very cold, but well, actually, I wouldn't use could at all. I would use can. It can be very cold in winter, or it can get very cold in winter, so you have to prepare. I wouldn't use could at all. In this example, it could be very cold in winter. Obviously, I understand Ziad's question. I immediately, when I read this, I would assume that, I don't know, maybe they're talking about in the 1920s when my grandfather lived there. I would automatically assume this is not a very specific time, or this is not something that the speaker was directly involved with or directly experienced. I would definitely assume that they're talking like in the third person or something. Secondhand. They're talking secondhand. Definitely. Okay. This is fairly rare, by the way, this kind of usage. You don't really hear this in spoken English, possibly in written English, somebody writing history. It would make more sense. In spoken English, we're talking about our own experience, and as Ziad pointed out, you would never use this kind of a structure. You would just say how it was, because you were there. So I would say that's extremely rare. Here's one that is more common. Can't or cannot, to show something is completely impossible. That can't be true. You can't be serious. This is a very common phrase in English. Super common. You can't be serious. Are you out of your mind? Okay, to show the possibility is zero in your mind anyway. Okay. And again, we use couldn't or could not to talk about the past. Okay. Any questions about can and can't? We already looked at must. There's one more I want to look at, and that is should, which Eunice mentioned so long ago. We can use the modal should to suggest, this is a little tricky, to suggest that something is true or will be true in the future, or that we think it should be true is really what we're saying. We often, when we use should to show probability, and it's possible in the past, well, it's possible in the future. It's more when you use it in the present. He should be here by now. We're really showing obligation. Okay. All right. Well, this is present tense, really. Ask Miranda. She should know. All right. So we believe something is true. So this is very strong. It's not 100%. If you wanted to say 100%, you would say she must know. She has to know. Okay? She might know or she may know would be about 50%. She should know is a little bit stronger. I don't know, 75% or thereabouts. You believe that she knows, but you're not 100% sure. Or you would say she must know. She has to know. Okay, so this is also used to show probability of something. It's nearly 6 o'clock. They should arrive soon. You think. You're more than 50% certain that they will arrive. It's very common when we use should because we're expressing an opinion that we're whatever 75% sure. It would be very common in this case to add some information to explain why, possibly. Okay, it's nearly 6 o'clock. All right, some extra piece of information to show why you think so. It's not necessary, but it's quite common. Any questions about using should? I should be at your house by 7 o'clock. All right, I'm showing that that's my guess. I believe it's more than likely. But of course, things happen, traffic jams and so forth. Okay. Let's attempt. Let's attempt a few more. Let's try some more exercises. In which case, you're going to pick your own modal, so a little bit more complicated here. All right, let's try this again. I think Ziad, I think it's your turn. What of all the modals of probability we've looked at today, what do you think would best fit in this first sentence here?
Okay, where is David? He might be at school. Class begin at 8.
Okay. Is it more likely to 50-50 he's at school, or classes begin at 8, or would it be more likely to say he must be at school? Well, depends on David, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Your answer is not incorrect. Depends on context. Does David miss school half the time? Which is when you use he may be at school, you're implying that David is a bad kid.
Yeah.
He misses school maybe half the time. He doesn't even go to school. All right? You're definitely implying something about David here by using may instead of he must be at school. Right?
Yes.
So it is not wrong, but it definitely has meaning, connotation there. All right. Eunice, how about the next one?
She must think that it's a good idea. It's crazy.
Oh, okay. All right. She must think that is a good idea. It's crazy. Now you're implying that she's crazy.
Okay.
100%.
She may think.
Okay, then you're saying 50-50. That doesn't really make sense. For me, I would probably use she can't think that is a good idea. It's crazy. All right. I 0% impossible. She can't possibly think that's a good idea. This is a very common phrasing in English, by the way. You can't possibly be serious. You can't think that's a good idea. Really. You're expressing the absolute zero probability that you believe that that's not possible. So, okay. It's a little bit of a negative way to approach it, but this is actually much more likely spoken in English. This is normal. You would never, no one would ever say, oh, she must think that's a great idea. But it's a crazy idea. It's a crazy idea. You would definitely use sarcasm and say, she can't possibly think that's a good idea. Is she friggin' nuts? It's a stupid idea. We just would not do it that way. It just would not be common. English speakers are far too sarcastic and cynical. Okay. Masa, how about the next one here?
I'm absolutely sure they. I thought that they. I don't know. May have.
Okay. Absolutely sure. So we're looking for 100%.
Uh-huh.
And the tricky part is we're looking for yesterday. So 100%
So
yesterday.
Must have arrived.
Gotta be. Must have arrived, or it could be they had to have arrived yesterday. Kind of a mouthful. It's easier to say they must have arrived yesterday. So.
Or sorry, have to have.
Or they had to have.
Had to have. Okay, thank you.
Had to have arrived yesterday. It is possible. Okay. Well, this one's weird. I don't even understand this one. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, what seems logical? Ziad?
Yes.
What do you think?
Courses must begin the 5th of September.
Yeah, that seems like a rule they're talking about. So, okay. Sure, that's more showing obligation there than probability in reality. Sometimes there's crossover, okay? Sometimes you're basically showing probability and obligation at the same time. This happens. All right, Eunice, but this next one.
Are you joking? David couldn't go to Paris last week. He doesn't have enough money.
Okay. You got the right idea. Couldn't, but since it's last week, it's
couldn't have.
Yeah, there you go. Couldn't have gone to Paris last week. Okay. And we're going to look at modal perfects more closely tomorrow. Masa? What about this next one?
They blah 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 live in New York, but I'm not sure. They 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 could live in New York.
I have to say that's a little strange to give an option about where somebody lives, as there are how many millions of cities. It would be weird to say they could live in New York, but I'm not sure. They couldn't live in London. They couldn't live in Los Angeles. They couldn't live. There's way too many cities to be messing around with could here. It sounds strange. I'm not sure. 50-50 chance.
So I may live.
They may live in New York, or they might live in New York. Okay. In spoken English, probably might. Again, may is a little more formal. Either is okay and acceptable, but personally, I would definitely use might. They might live in New York. I'm not sure. Because that sounds like a spoken sentence to me, and it sounds like, does not sound like something you'd be writing. Okay, Ziad, one more here. Well, again, last night.
The concert must have been wonderful last night.
Very good. Yeah.
Pierre is a great conductor.
Right. Okay. All right. So certainty in the past. All right. Again, tomorrow we're going to be looking more closely at using the modal perfects. That is the past, the must have, might have, could have, and looking at some other functionality of them tomorrow. But it is time for me to have lunch, and I am starving. So and my time is up. So thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.